G'day all and welcome back to Nat's Knackers Yard. I'll be Nat, this will be my Knackers Yard, and this will be RatBoy, the Fazer 600. Carb kit's arrived, so it is now up-jetted to 120. I have had a little bit of a play. There's a couple of bits I want to show you, actually, something I've never seen before. You might wonder why the light cluster's chucked on the back there. That's because non-attached. Power on, engine on, nothing. Yeah, buttons seems to be off. However, I'm still not entirely sure why I decided to plug this back in. But on. Nuts, isn't it? Runs and it makes a lot of noise, but if I try and give it some beans it just cuts itself out. Yeah, so if I try and give it some beans, it just cuts out. Speaking of cutting out, I'm going to cut this video on and off because camera's zoning on the noise. It levels at that noise, which is turbo robo loud, and you can't hear me. Yeah, I ended up having a big dig around all of the power. I tried bridging it, and it works when you bridge. I thought then I'd cocked up my wiring for the ignition, but no, it'll only work with the light attached, which is pass. Strange, super strange. It's going to make a test ride fucking awkward. Oh yeah, nowhere near that at the moment. So what? I tried it without pods and just running rough, and then weirdly enough it run rough and wouldn't rev. I put the pods on. They are restricted, i.e. there's beer tin on the inside. In fact, let's just whip one off and I can show you. I can find a screwdriver. Not so sunny today. I've got my boobs away, so I don't mind showing myself on the screen. Not flashing my dad bod. Yeah, so I mean this is a really abused one, and you know it's only for test purposes, but you can see it's pretty well restricted. Let's just rip them all off for a minute. See if there's any discernible difference. See if there's any difference in noise or pitch or anything else. It's going to get noisy again. See, the cynic in me thinks that's float heights, which I have to admit I did utterly guess at. So the previous setting I'd raised them really as far as I could go. Weirdly enough, it just pissed fuel everywhere. I think what I can do, and for some reason the pump seems to have, it's not making noise anymore, which it was before whenever I plugged it in. You could say that's working again. No, it's just a dodgy connection. I'm going to clean off the connections. Yeah, that was just clearing out whatever it had in the pipe. Yeah, so I mean, it's currently running straight off the alt. So it's not the pump, it's not the fuel delivery, because it's the same whether it goes from this or whether it goes from the pump with the tank on it. So it's not the fuel delivery into it. Air is going to be higher than it was designed for, hence the upjetting. So I don't think it's the air intake. I think it's got to be those float heights. I don't really want to open that carb again because it's about the 130th time I've done it. But needs must as the devil drives, I suppose. I'm just going to tidy up that fuel a little bit. How are we doing for time? Whip the carbs off. It's bottoming out, so it's not getting enough, so it needs a little bit more. I think what I'll do actually is, now that it's working, the pump's working, the prime's working, everything else, is get the, it takes seconds for you to stick the engine back on. I'm going to stick the engine back on, the engine, dick, the tank back on. Yeah, stick the tank back on, and what? And try and test the fuel heights. Yeah, try and test the height of the fuel. Got some keck at the bottom there as well. Yeah, the float heights with the method that they want you to, and I'll film it so you can see what it looks like. Yeah, right. I'm going to get the tank back on, get this, front end button back up again, and bring you back in. As much as anything else. Right, so length the hose, and let me get you to a suitable height so you can see what the hell I'm doing. Right, got my little kneelie cushion. So, little length of hose pipe, clear because it helps. What can you see? So I've attached that to the drain. Really got any way of doing that properly. Now these drain bolts are a little bit screwed, so I need to be a bit careful. So undo the drain bolt. Now comes the fuel. Give it a quick prime. Oops. Got one quick click there. Now to me, so if I lower that, it's supposed to be 4mm above the mating surface. Now the issue you got here is that the bike is near as damn it level. Bearing in mind I've got the rear wheel up, but I do have a slopey driveway. Now, there's even an air bubble there, but by turning on the bike and getting that pump kicking in, the pump should be pushing it to about the right level. Oh, that was interesting, that just shot up. Click. Right, so if I try and raise it above, because it says 4mm above. Now depending on what element of the carb, that's really not that far off. That's, in fact, I'd say that is bang on the, well, where is the mating surface on this? It is in the middle of there. You can't quite, you're not going to be able to see it from there, but it is in the middle of that. Now the problem is, because it's not flat, that is 4mm above there. You're not helping, TPS. You're in the way. There you go. Right, so if I put that, in the middle of the carb, it's dropping, it's dropping. It's probably about 2mm. off that carb. Now at the moment, is that working again? I'm not entirely sure that carb is kicking through. It seems to be. Right, it's not that far off, so why is it choking itself? Not choking, why is it struggling? It shouldn't be struggling on that little bit out. Right, I'm gonna lock that off and do the same on the others, just to see how far out they are according to the pucker, well, the by the service manual way of testing. Yeah, so what, I've just done the other side. It's about 4, you know, it's on the mating surface on 1, bearing in mind I'm calling that one 4, so far side on 1. I can't get to 3 because the starter's in the way, so you haven't got enough clearance in that small gap there. I've tried having a quick tinker with the air fuel screws, those that I can get to. I bought one of those right angled screwdriver thingies, and don't waste your money, they're shite. Because they're on a spring. As soon as you put any load on it, the spring just turns and it doesn't turn the handle. It's going to have to be carbs off again. Carbs off. A little bit of adjustment on those floats, just to give it a little bit more fuel, because I think that's what it is. It's choking out. It's suffocating. Fuel starvation. It's not getting enough fuel to feed those revs when those revs up, even with the massive jets that are on there. So let's get that done. I've just noticed something, and I'm annoyed I hadn't noticed it before. These manifolds are beyond fucked. I can see that one in there. There's air around that one, and there's air around that one. So explains why it popped off earlier. Right, so I'm going to need new ones of them as well. The question is, do I bother pissing around with float heights and chucking it back on when I know they're shagged? What I could do is just, I'll replace them, don't get me wrong, I'm obviously going to replace them. But what I might do in the interim is just see if glue will hold them while I test these floats. It's a pisser, I've only just noticed that. And I did notice how it was a little bit shaky right at the beginning, and I didn't do anything about it, which was daft of me. Yeah, just hope I can get all those bolts out, because if one of those shears, I am in Scheissenstrasse. What I can do is just start dosing them with oil now, can't I? Yeah, let's get that going. I'm going to chuck some glue in them, see if it'll just hold it for now, and I'll sort out those floats. Cool. Okay, so floats sorted, or floats adjusted I should say, rather than sorted, because you don't know until you measure it, because for some obscure reason nobody in the world seems to have the measurable normal technique way of measuring carbs, float heights. The manifolds are knacked, but I've super glued them to try and just keep them a little bit longer. I have ordered new ones, should be here by the weekend. I've literally just thrown it together. Let's see if I get anywhere. It's running rough, but there is absolutely no air restriction. Right, so I do have a better rev range. It's still bottoming out, it's rough as tits. Now air leaks in those manifolds will not be helping, but I don't think it's entirely that. I'm just going to chuck the pods on just to see if I get anything a bit better. but I am knocking it on the head now because it's starting to, well, it's not getting late. So, but I don't like revving a noisy bike in the evenings. I very much doubt I'm top of my neighbour's list at the best of times, but there's no point making a complete dick of yourself for no reason. So, probably just fast forward this bit while I chuck these on. Right, back in, fuely hands and everything. Let's try it with a bit of air restriction. Do you know what? That's not far off. So I think I filmed it. You would have heard it revving when I sprayed car cleaner on those manifolds. So I think the reason it's ramping is just because it's pulling in air from outside behind the carb, so it's just ruining the airflow into the engine itself. But that's fine. I have ordered those. It should be here by Saturday. You saw me rocking it backwards and forwards a little in there. I've never tried selecting gears on this bike, remember. So the the first gear does pull and it does move it. The slight weirdness is that the neutral light stays on no matter what gear you're in, which is weird. But hey, it's one of many things to chase. But yeah, I think this will now move. Now, I'm in flip-flops and shorts. There is absolutely no freaking way that I'm going to try and move that up and down the road now. But I think that's one for the next vid. So I think it was a combination of float heights, which were close but not quite on. I've adjusted slightly. They seem better. I might use the bit of tubing to test it, but not now. But they seem better. They seem closer. They seem happier. The manifolds are knacked. Like I say, I have ordered new ones. I'm going to let it cool a bit and just spend the next few days just dousing bolt 1, bolt 2 on each one of those. I'm in no rush to get them off, certainly until the replacements are here. So I'll just keep giving them a dose throughout the time. And then I'll spend the intervening time sorting out and trying to carry on the rest of the bodywork pieces. I'm so perplexed about that light and the fact that it won't seem to work without one. I'm going to see if I can find a way of just bodging and bridging, because I can't take it on a test ride up and down the hill without dangling off the back. But I'm perplexed as to how/why. Let me just watch up there as I unplug with one hand. Badly. There we go. So I lose some of the functionality. So that's off. Plug in again with one hand. Come on, you knob end. Alright, there you go. On. So the only thing that changes up there is the neutral light, which seems to permanently be on anyway. That is just weird. No idea what's happened there. Absolutely none. It might go a long way to explain why it doesn't seem to be operated by the brake. I've unplugged the front brake just to see if that made any difference, but yeah, it's just weird. Oops, it's gone off because it's come unplugged. Yeah, although, yeah, I'll have a look. That's confusing, that. Not that I'm the most difficult man to confuse in the world. Right, that'll do me for this one. More to follow, probably a bit more bodywork, because I'm going to have to wait for those carb manifolds to rock up. I had a couple of suggestions because I was trying to find ways of mounting the plate. Where are we gone? There we go. I know what I wanted to do, but I just didn't know what to call it. Yeah, and it was Bob that came up and said, "You need some of these, mate." Or yeah, and all the suggestions were close. The ones that the first suggestion I got was clips which would be great if it was like that, and I was clipping straight on. I found out, through a detective trail from a suggestion. Was afterwards R clips, which you effectively will attach through a screw, bolt on. That bar are the same, say 2.547 inch tube. So I've got a few of those. So what I'm going to do is bolt the back. That one that's using for earth. Bolt the back. One at the top, one at the bottom. Job's a good one. And because they're plastic, it would just raise it enough from the frame, because the last thing you want is that horrible noise when you're riding. Right, that'll do me for now. Thanks very much all. Thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. Yeah, getting there. Yeah, getting there. Like the old British Rail adverts. Happy days. Right, cheers all. I'll catch you later on. Ta-da.